Hello there. Bring up my computer so I can see what's going on with the people that come and join us. My name's Craig. I do this once in a while, once in a rare while, as far as a live show. Depends on how many people show up and if there's any questions, people want to talk about anything. I'm going to have an open topic. I just got off the air with Liberty Tree Radio, my weekly radio show. And we're going to have an open topic. I just did a show about food storage and storing food, grains, bulk grains, wheat, beans, rice, corn, things like that, wheat. Recently came across got about 40 cans of number 10 cans of wheat that I started. But anyway, how to store it properly, how to prepare it, wheat grinders. Got somebody that's just joined us here. Thank you. Roach Tube? I can't, that's gone. I can't see it. Thanks for joining us. Open topic. Anybody want to talk about any particular thing? There's lots going on in the world, of course, things with Israel. I don't know if that gets me banned or something if I say certain things. Whatever you want to talk. Okay, I don't know if I think I was just cut off there. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or what. If I might be having a problem. I may not be able to do this if it keeps cut off. But it looks like we still got some people with us here. I want to go with YouTube here. I want to go on and I can, if I go to I have a laptop here off screen. I'm doing this on my phone live. But if I go on my laptop, it's right there, okay. I can see the questions. The questions will say, if on my phone where I'm looking right now, the questions, the notations will be there just very briefly. Oh boy, this is good. I try to go to my own video as I'm broadcasting, and it tells me, and a lot of you may already know this, ad blockers violate YouTube's terms of service. They aren't letting me watch my own video. You know what? This is so annoying. I have ad blockers on both my phone and on my laptop because YouTube has become almost unbearable to watch with all the ads they put on. Not only, my channel is not monetized. I have no sponsors. I have no affiliate links. I have no ways to make any donations. And it's not monetized. No money whatsoever do I make from YouTube. But YouTube still runs ads on my channels, on my videos. And as a lot of you know who watch YouTube, you can be watching a YouTube video and not only they might be sponsored where the originator of the program basically stops and gives you a commercial right there within the video, which your ad blocker doesn't do anything about or can do anything about, but also it might interrupt with ads, not only starting out, but interrupt during the program, depending on how long the program is. YouTube has become unbearable to watch because of the ads, in my opinion. I do have a Rumble account. I do have a Vimeo account. I have a BitChute. I have those other accounts as well. I don't have videos on any of them but BitChute right now. But if this keeps up, we're going to have to bail. But you know what? What I found was sometimes I can still watch videos without getting the screen. It won't let me watch my own video, so I can't see what's going on, but I can see the chat. It's showing me the chat. I can't see myself, but I can see the chat on the sidebar. Presumably, it's going to work. I don't know. So I can see the questions, and somebody has said, hello, Craig, and somebody else says, hi, Craig, what do you think is going on with China, Taiwan, or no? I'm not too concerned about China or Taiwan at the moment. I'm more concerned about Israel, although that looks like it might be panning itself out for now. It hasn't gone to the major disaster. It looks like it could have gone, but I'm not concerned that much with China or Taiwan in the short term. China and Taiwan long term, well, that's a whole other story. China, and I just got off the radio talking about possibly like with EMP, for instance, or the grid going down. Did any of you know that China actually, we buy transformers. By transformers, I mean, these things weigh 100 tons, whatever. Come in on huge trucks. These things are huge, and They take about a year and a half to build these things. And these are the things you see on the outskirts of town, as big as semi trucks, gray, have all these things on the top of it, the transformers. I'm not talking about the on your telephone pole outside by your house. I'm talking about these huge things on the outskirts of town. If those get taken out, or if there's an EMP and those get taken out, either by man or by an EMP from nature, either way, a solar flare, then we're talking about these transformers going out and the grid's going to be down potentially for a long time. And by a long time, I mean like years, potentially. I never like to fearmonger, but this is one thing you do have to kind of look at. And China, we get most of ours from South Korea. We've got some from China. And what was found out during the Trump administration, one of the transformers was like analyzed, and the software inside them was found to have malware in them, to where China could actually shut down our transformers from a computer in China. Talk about your problems there. If you want to worry about a problem, and this is not getting broadcast much, and a lot of people don't know about it, this is something you really do need to worry about, is the grid going down. Because if it goes down to an EMP, and it's not a matter of when, it will go down someday, either from a solar flare or from a man-made, in which case would be a nuclear weapon. Those are some of the ways, or somebody shooting at them. And that's happened several times where transformers are shot at. You know, 50 BMG, it goes right through those transformers, and you got to rebuild those things. Again, just getting the paperwork together to order one takes many, many months, and then getting it in production. We don't just have them on the shelf. We don't have spares just laying around. It's going to be a problem. Let's see here. Transformers, outsourced to China, South Korea. Heard it could take as long as 5 years to replace. Yeah, if I don't know about 5 years, but certainly more than a year. Can you be without power or electricity for more than a year? And then it would be just going piecemeal. It wouldn't just be one transformer. It would be a lot of transformers. We need a lot of them. These things cost millions of dollars as well. And if there's a grid down situation, if it's an EMP from a solar flare, the whole world could be affected. And South Korea's not making them right now because they don't have electricity. See what I'm saying? So yeah, it could be many years in an instance like that. Could be many, many years. Think of all the things that could happen if a grid goes down for a long time. Going to share my live stream right now. Oh, share it. Okay. I'm not sure how that happens. How does the live stream share go? I don't know how that works. So is that posting something to Facebook or Twitter or X or whatever? Is that what that involves? I don't know. Or you send people emails or something. Thanks for all the thumbs up, people. I guess it helps the algorithm from what I heard. Exponential impact if more than a single instance. I guess you're probably talking about the grid down. Yeah. I actually participated in a couple of grid down conferences. There's a channel called Green Greg's. He talks about this a lot on his channel. I was a guest on his show once, but he doesn't like the fact, I think he never had me on again because I don't think he likes the fact that I don't fearmonger. And he does a lot of fearmonger. Even though he claims he doesn't fearmonger, he does. Everybody who's a prepper seems to fearmonger. I try not to fearmonger. Now, the grid being down, that is a problem. Most anything else you don't have to worry about much as far as I'm concerned. Storing all kinds of food, all the other things that people do, buying radiation detection equipment because you think that we're going to be nuked. I don't think any of that's necessary. Think about it. In this country, if you're watching from the US, that is, we haven't had any need for having to have any reason to have anything, food storage, water storage, anything like that for 160 years. The reason I say 160 years is because during the Civil War, the South, they were starting to starve. The blockades and everything, things were getting bad in the South. So that was about the only time in our history, war, and that could happen, of course, Civil War. You all have about if you look at Red Cross and FEMA, they'll say it's 2 weeks of food storage is all you really need. You already have that. 2 weeks of water stored. You already have that too. If the grid goes down, of course, you're going to want to eat everything out of your refrigerator and freezer the much as you can before all that goes bad. But then you got all the stuff in your cupboard. You got more than a couple weeks for the food store right now in your house. If your normal household, have a regular kitchen, you already have 2 weeks of food store. Water, you already have 2 weeks water stored too. If you have an old type of water heater, 30 gallons, 50 gallons, that'll last more than 2 weeks. As long as you aren't flushing the toilets with it and everything. That'll last for 2 weeks. It's pasteurized. It's going to be safe to drink. There's a valve on the bottom. Have a hose connected to it if you can't shut that valve off. Because a lot of times there'll be sludge and stuff in the bottom of the tank. If you don't regularly flush that, you have a problem with that. I have a video about all this stuff here. Have a hose you can hold above the level of the top of the tank so that all your water just doesn't run out, because you might not be able to close that valve again. So you already have 2 weeks of the food store, 2 weeks of the water storage. So all your prepping, okay, you think of financial collapse. Well, okay, you've been saying that for decades. You've been saying all sorts of things for decades about all this stuff that's going to go wrong. I recently bought about 50 cans of number 10 cans of wheat, whole wheat, from a prepper. Well, his father was a prepper, and his father died, and he wanted to get rid of the stuff. So he came to the show. I was in Indianapolis last week doing a gun show, and he had all that. He didn't want it, and you can't really donate it. They don't really take that kind of stuff. So, okay, and it had a grain grinder too. So I bought it from him, and so I got all this wheat, and what am I going to do with it? I can't really sell it because I've tried that before. Even at prepper shows, when I do prepper shows, it's not something that sells very well. Even if I was only selling it for $5 a can, I noticed people weren't buying it. And this was old stock too. Y2K, remember that? The fear mongering on the internet. Even before Y2K, we had other fear mongering stuff, and then we had the 2012 Mayan calendar nonsense. All fear mongering. Nothing happened to either one of those, of course. Don't listen to all these preppers that have the fear mongering channels. If you want to do more preparing than the 2 weeks that you already have, you can do that. You can buy some gold and silver if you're worried about financial collapse, but that's not going to do you a lot of good either necessarily, but whatever. You can do whatever you want. You can stock up on fuel for a generator, but if the grid's down and nobody else has fuel and they can hear that generator, you're going to be gang bait. Just saying. If you got a car that survived the EMP and doesn't have computers on it, you got a 57 Chevy or whatever, you're not going to be going anywhere with it because you'll be gang bait. You look up ahead and there's cars blocking the way, and then you look in your rearview mirror and they're pushing cars to block your way, and they all got shotguns. So no, you're not going anywhere in your 57 Chevy. Learn how to live like they did 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, before electricity. That's going to be your key to learning how to survive. Be Amish. If you don't like the beard and the black clothes, you can still learn how they live, or how they could live, because a lot of the Amish don't know actually how to survive either, right? A lot of Amish, if you don't know this, depending on the church they go to, I was in a lot of Amish communities. I did shows in Amish communities too. They have cell phones. A lot of them have cell phones. They might be able to use their cell phone in their barn, but they can't use it in their house, for instance. Or they might have electricity in their barn, but can't have it in their house. There's a lot of weird rules. The Amish aren't a lot of the way a lot of people portray them as being these pure non-electric and non-modern societies. A lot of them will have tractors. Anyway, but learn how to live without electricity. That's going to be your key to living with the grid down situation. Go into the screen, hit share. Okay, he goes go under the screen, hit share, and copy it to the site I want to share with. Okay, I have seen that share button. I don't really know. Oh, and that takes you to, on my phone, that'll take me to like Yahoo Mail, messages, and so on. It'll take me to a lot of stuff. Anyway, Transformers. Green Greg's that associated with KLW World News? If so, yes, he's a fearmonger. I don't know what KLW World News is. I don't think he's associated with that. He's a good guy. I don't have anything against him. He's a prepper type, but I think he just fearmongers a little bit too much. But all preppers do. Basically, all preppers do. Now, Green Greg's I think it's Green Greg or Green Greg's. I think it's Green Greg's with an S, I think. Anyway, you can check out his channel. I was on it once. Toilet tanks. Yeah, you got water in a toilet tank too. The potential of the water there to be contaminated, I would worry about that, drinking that water. Not because it was ever in the toilet, but being in the tank is, if you ever look in your tank, you can have the iron and all the other things that could be good things growing in it. But out of your water heater, that water has been pasteurized, it's been heated to 110 degrees for forever, and that water will be safe to drink. Whereas the water in your toilet tank might not be. So use the water in your toilet tank for other uses. That would be my recommendation there. I would not recommend, unless you boil that water. If you boil that water in the toilet tank, yeah, that's fine. You can even boil the water that's in the toilet bowl too, if you want to talk about that. You could boil it, and the rolling boil, reconnecting. Sorry about that. I may have problems with my, that's the second time it's done that. There's a pause in there apparently. Rolling boil for 1 minute, iodine, chlorine dioxide. Those are the ways to disinfect the water from all bacteria and viruses. There are ways to do it. You need to research that. Even household bleach. But household bleach, you got to rotate. Household bleach does go bad, goes weaker and weaker. Do some internet searches, find out how many drops of bleach to add to a gallon of water, etc. And you can make the water safe to drink. If you got fresh bleach, iodine, chlorine dioxide, these are things you can use to purify water. But if it's out of your water heater tank, you do not have to do that. It will be safe to drink. Okay, let's see. Packed canned meat. Okay, yeah, canned meat. There are some decent meats, but of course there's the standby Spam. Okay, it's edible. It's meat. It pretends to be, at least. Let's see here. Missed you last week, never made it to the other room. Well, I was not live. I haven't been live in many months. I don't go live very often. If I had a big audience, Green Greg's does, he goes live and he has hundreds of people that go on every time he goes on. I have dozens of people that go, I don't have that big of an audience apparently. YouTube doesn't like me. We talked about this ad blocker thing here at the beginning of the show. I can't even see my own channel here. Ad blockers violate YouTube's terms of service. If you have an ad blocker, you've probably been getting that recently. They're trying to force you to go to their premium, and you'll still have commercials. Excuse me. This is crazy. Here's what I found though. I have a phone that I have the app for YouTube. I have my laptop that I have the YouTube that I go on. And I have several channels. In fact, I recently just got a channel that I didn't have before. I mean, that sounds weird. I had a channel. I had got a new computer and a new phone. And YouTube didn't like that. It basically locked me out of one of my channels because I didn't go on there often enough to keep it active. And the channel is called Forbid TV, Forbid Space TV. If you want to look for it, kind of hard to find because I don't like that channel either. But I was locked out of that for many years because I had the right password and username, but YouTube refused, thinking it's some sort of scam or spam or whatever. I don't know. Somebody trying to break in. So what I finally had to do after trying in there for different ways for years, send me an email, and even sending you an email for the password, forgot password, even though I knew my password, it still wouldn't let me in. So I wrote them a letter, as in the snail mail paper letter. I mailed YouTube a letter saying, hey, your bot locked me out. Here's my information. Fix it, God damn it. And they did. So if you've been locked out of a channel and anything else you've done has failed, write them a letter. It might work for you too. It worked for me. I got the channel back, put a couple videos on it. I'm going to keep going on. I only put a video up there. I used to put a video up there about every quarter or so. Of course, that's all I do now for the videos that I have because YouTube doesn't like me. It's hard to keep going with this YouTube thing. My subscribers and views and everything has been flatlined for years. They changed the algorithm and they do not favor people like me who that aren't trying to make money. I'm not monetized. I don't take donations. I don't have affiliate links. I don't have sponsors. And YouTube doesn't like that. I don't play their money game. I really wish there would be no money game on YouTube. Or at least that they wouldn't penalize me for not being on their money game. Because I haven't been able to advance my channel in years. Haven't been able to get more. I'm stuck at like 18,000 subscribers, 18,000 and some subscribers. And it's only fluctuated like a plus or minus 100 for years. Haven't been able to get up there anymore. Used to be able to get more and more subscribers. Can't anymore. I would like anybody out there who knows, I would like to find out. I haven't done research on this. I suppose I don't know if this answer to this my question. Is there anybody out there on YouTube who has, I don't know what they call it, some kind of award, like a trophy, 100,000 viewers? Is there anybody that has 100,000 views that is not monetized? I would really like to know that. I seriously doubt there is. I bet they're more like me, being like 20,000 or less. Don't know that. I would like to find out if anybody knows. Sometimes it's hard to determine whether they're monetized or not. I'm not. All your big channels, the only reason they get big is they play the money game. I don't play the money game. Let's see. If you live in a city, you're screwed. I'm going back to the comments here. Hit share, copy, and go to the site and paste. I got an aqua brick. Oh, okay. Okay, I have to actually sell those. I hope it works against water from various places except salt. Yeah, aqua brick, depending on the model you have, because it was been changed. The ones I used to carry had a zeolite, very heavy, and the zeolite was the media. It was the filtration media. And yeah, you could make any water safe, but not salt water. And none of these, except for reverse osmosis systems, really, there are a couple of what do you call it? Objections, not objections. Can't think of the word. None of them will do salt water. So you're talking about seawater, you're gonna have to distill it, or use reverse osmosis. There's a couple other exceptions you can use. Anyway, the aqua brick. If it's a modern aqua brick, it's very lightweight. It's empty, and that will also do bacteria and viruses, 99.99, but also won't do seawater. So yeah. Having a lot of you people, by the way, a lot of people go with the Berkey or the AquaRain or ProPur. Those can be dangerous if you use them like the manufacturer tells you to. In other words, I'm suggesting you use them how they say you should use them. However, don't use them for surface water in an emergency without doing some additional treatment. Because as a lot of you learn now, the masks don't block out a virus. Those filters also will not block out a virus. A virus measures between 0.005 and 0.3 microns. The Berkey only filters to 0.9 microns. The ProPur and the AquaRain only filter to 0.3 microns, so those will not filter out viruses. Now, you may not have a virus in your water supply, but if all hell broke loose, you might have viruses in your water supply. So if you're using a Berkey or an AquaRain or a ProPur, and I saw the AquaRain, I'm almost out, but I've been selling AquaRain. I don't recommend them for surface water. So if you're going to use them, you still would probably have to be safe, rolling boil for 1 minute, iodine, chlorine dioxide. Just a word to wise, Berkey makes these claims and AquaRain makes these claims, but you do not want to get stuck with those in emergency and use them with surface water. By surface water, I mean lakes, ponds, streams, river. Water that's on the surface that could very easily be contaminated. If you're using it for well water, and if the well is sealed properly, you shouldn't have to worry about that. If you have a way of pumping that well water in emergency, you won't have to filter it. I mean, unless there's something wrong with your well. If it was good before, it'll still be good. If you have electricity, you can use it for the well water. Hand pump well also, those are very expensive to buy those pumps. Let's see here. So I didn't do a show sorry, I did the show. We missed the show last weekend. Okay, the show I did, the one show he's talking about, I think, is the Indianapolis show. That it was a gun show that I did. I do very few shows anymore since the pandemic. But when the pandemic hit, I sold thousands of gas masks online. I didn't have to do shows. There were no shows to do anyway. Thousands of gas masks online. Then when Putin did his nonsense almost 2 years ago, Putin's been nice to me. I should send him a Christmas card. My radiation detection equipment. sales went way up online. Fear mongering again. You don't need this stuff. You don't need it. You didn't need a gas mask for the pandemic, and you don't need a radiation detection equipment for what Russia's done. The war in Russia, that whole Ukraine thing is done, by the way. I don't know if you know that yet. The mainstream press is finally going to have to come to the realization and probably slowly tell you that, yeah, it's over with. And they've already dropped the whole Ukraine thing, and now we're worried about Israel, right, and Hamas. Okay, let's see here. Wi-Fi win. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Herbie. Wi-Fi win. I've got Wi-Fi in here that I'm using this on my phone, directly on my phone. Should I still boil water from Aqua Brick for surface water? Is Clorox alone okay? The Aqua Brick has been tested. Okay, depends on which Aqua Brick, again, you have. Camera's over here. If the old style zeolite, you should be fine. If it's the new style with the fiber paper type of fabric paper, it's a combination of fabric. If it's that Aqua Brick, yes, up to 550 gallons. You see, that's only rated to 550 gallons. It's rated at 99.99 for viruses at 550 gallons. In other words, all your water companies, water treatment processing companies, rate them at when they're new. The Aqua Brick, the one with the fiber filter, is rated at 550 gallons to be 99.99 effective against viruses. And so in other words, yes, up to that point. The reason the Aqua Brick will work on viruses, the old one had the zeolite in there, and it's a maze of extremely sharp edges, and it sliced up the bacteria and the viruses, basically going through that maze of sharp edges, basically is what it did. The new Aqua Brick is a filtration system, but it's got an ion exchange to where it attracts the viruses because you can't filter out the viruses. So an ion exchange, which it's supposed to be able to hold the viruses and keeps it from going in your water supply. So yes, the Aqua Brick should be able to do any surface water except seawater, salt water. Let's see, is shortwave radio any good anymore? I haven't listened to shortwave radio in a long time. Is it any good anymore? Well, it still works if you have a shortwave radio. The thing about shortwave radio, at least back in the days before the internet, when I had a shortwave radio, this is where you could learn things that weren't spoon-fed to you on this mainstream media, shortwave radio. You can go on all these other channels. You can get, the first time I turned on the shortwave radio and started tuning, well, here's a station. What is it? Radio Athens. Athens, Georgia. It was Athens, Greece. Wow, I'm listening to a station in Greece in English. Huh. And you'll find thousands of stations like that. You can listen to any country you want in English or your native tongue if you're from one of those countries. So shortwave radio, before the internet, gave you, like an Alex Jones, for instance, he's a laughingstock anymore, but it gave you William Cooper, it gave you Mark Hornke, it gave you Bo Greitz, there were all these stations you could listen to and radio shows of people that had a different point of view that wasn't on the mainstream. Now it's a lot easier to get that because of the internet. But back then, that was your only real option other than buying books and things, which I also did. Shortwave radio was good. Now, I'm sure you could still find that kind of information on shortwave. I haven't done it in a long time. But having a shortwave radio, especially one that's a wind-up, if you get a Bay-Gen, that'd be great. But if you get one that's a wind-up or the battery operated that you can actually tune into things when there's a grid down situation and an emergency, when all the grid down situation, more than likely your FM and AM radio stations are all going to be dead. Do you even have a radio anymore? Are you listening to internet radio? You're not going to have any internet for sure. And AM and FM radio stations are probably not going to work either, at least for some time. And so there's shortwave. Because if it's like, for instance, it's affecting just our country, turn in your shortwave radio, especially if it's an analog one, and you listen to anywhere in the world, it might not be affected if it's a man-made EMP. If it's a worldwide mass corona ejection, solar flare, then probably nobody in the world is going to be on the radio for very long. But I did a lot of ham shows also. And hams have ways of getting on the air. Ham radio. Shortwave radio, you don't need any license for it. It receives. Ham radio, you have to broadcast, you have to have a license. Now, when all hell's gone, everything's gone to hell, who cares about the license, right? But the hams, and I've known a lot of them, I did Dayton Ham Fest for about 12 years, and they know how to get back on the air. So more than likely, shortwave radio will be the only thing, even if it's a worldwide EMP from the sun, a solar flare. I got cut off again, it looks like. That'd be your source, ham radio, shortwave radio. Remember, shortwave is just listening. No license needed. And I would, if you're going to get into this, some research, but also look for one that has a function called single sideband. It's a little more advanced function. It won't be in your $20 radios. It'll be in your radios that are more in the neighborhood of $80 to $100 probably. It's been a long time since I priced them. Single sideband is what a lot of the hams will be broadcasting on. It depends. Regular ham takes a lot of electricity, a lot of energy, whereas single sideband uses a lot less energy in the air to broadcast. And if you don't have single sideband feature where you can switch it to single sideband, you're going to get what sounds like the Charlie Brown parents. That's what you're going to hear. You're not going to be able to understand what they're saying. But if you have single sideband, you kick it on, and it's going to be clear, and you're going to be able to understand what it's saying. It's sort of like a deep, what do you call it? Where you decrypted. So encrypt. It's not like it's encrypted. It allows you to decrypt it, translate it, so you can understand it. So anyway, shortwave radio I still recommend if you're looking for, and that would be the only thing. People talk about Faraday cages. What are you going to put in a Faraday cage is going to make any difference? That protects the Faraday cage. If you don't know, protects ice from an EMP. You can put your microwave in there. Nothing's going to work afterwards. Anything digital basically is not going to work. You're not going to have internet, so we put a laptop in there. Okay, well, if you have files on there, you want to look up and you have some files and you want to see, that would be something you could put in there. But basically, walkie-talkies, 2 walkie-talkies, put those in a Faraday cage, and maybe a shortwave radio. That's about all you would really. That's the only thing I can think of you would really need to put in a Faraday cage. For those of you thinking of going that route. Got it. Want to confirm with you. I'm not sure what question I answered, but okay. I have a huge bag of diatomaceous earth. Okay, that's similar. Dusting for bugs, mites. There are any filtration uses for this material? That is similar to the zeolite, but it's not quite the same. I don't think there are any media filtering systems for water that uses diatomaceous earth. I'm not positive of that though. There are some uses for that, but I don't think for water treatment. I may be wrong. Go to a truck stop and really buy good CB radio with sideband. Okay, CB radio is only that's another set of frequencies. I don't know if any of the hams will be broadcasting on any of the CB frequencies, single sideband. And I don't know if sideband is the same thing as single sideband. With CB, I'm not familiar enough with CB to know, so I'll just have to assume you're correct there. I don't know. But I don't think the hams are going to be broadcasting on the CB frequencies. Frequencies, there's thousands and thousands of frequencies. It's just a continuous, an infinite number of frequencies out there. But if you want emergency information, probably a shortwave radio will be the way to go if you're a prepper-minded type. But again, we haven't had any need for any prepping in this country, in the U.S., for more than 160 years. Even Katrina, Hurricane Katrina. Well, now, first of all, you knew it was coming. You didn't take any action. Okay, you got flooded out, your house got destroyed, whatever, flooded. If you survived the flood, okay, well, you can walk to the next parish at Aunt Bessie's house where they have electricity and water and the grocery stores are open. So your life was never really in danger. other words, you weren't in danger of dying there that way. So has there ever really been a need for to be prepared, to prepare in this country? No. You already got 2 weeks of food, you already got 2 weeks of water, I already explained that. Probably no reason to prepare. Unless you think something more can happen, and okay, then I can buy some of the arguments you have about preparing for more. And if it's grid down, that's going to be the hardest to prepare for. Let's see. Will satellites still be able to usable for TV and radio signals? No, not during a worldwide EMP. During a man-made EMP, like a nuclear bomb, maybe those satellites will still be operational, but your devices won't be operational to receive them. So even if the satellites were good, your TV won't be any good, and you won't have electricity to run it anyway. Let's see here. Some of the high-end CB radios can be tuned to perform similar to ham. Okay, very, very well. Again, I don't know enough about CB radio. The frequencies for shortwave, they're worldwide. I think CB radio is rather localized. I don't think you're going to be talking across the country with CB radio. Again, I may be wrong about that. I'm not well versed on CB. Okay, anybody else have any questions? I haven't had my dinner yet, so I'm going to get off the air here soon. A lot of people have already dropped out, I see. Maybe some of the topics I covered weren't of something you wanted to hear. It was an open topics, and I just followed the questions here. Ended up a lot like prepping. So I don't know if I'm going to leave this video up or not for latecomers to watch. I probably will for a while, and then I might delete it. Sometimes I delete the live shows, depending if they were a disaster or not. This one hasn't been a disaster. Okay, thanks. Good to hear from me. Thanks. Yeah, I don't do live shows anymore because YouTube has made it. Even though I don't make any money, I still wanted to see progress. I still wanted to see I was doing something, and I wasn't getting anywhere. No matter how many videos or how much time I put into it, I wasn't getting anywhere. Oh, and what I was going to tell about the ad blockers for anybody still with us here. My phone ad blocker program still works. I don't get that screen that I'm getting right now on my laptop. And other channels, YouTube channels I have on my laptop with the same ad blocker, I don't get this message from. It's only with my biggest channel, the Forbid TV, the one you're watching on right now, it blocks me. But it doesn't even block me all the time with that. If I click on, if I click on certain things, I can get on where I can watch all the videos I want. It doesn't have this screen. So the algorithm's having a hard time apparently, or else the ad blockers are improving and making it harder for the YouTube algorithm to counteract them. I don't know. Okay, where to send civil defense meters for calibration? First of all, I don't necessarily recommend that. The only reason being is because depending on the meter you either have a CDV 715, a CDV 700, CVD 717, CVD 720. The model 700 is a Geiger counter. It's for very low levels. There's no real reason. It's a toy. You're playing around with it. Why do you need accuracy? It always escapes me for a Geiger counter. Unless you're reporting numbers to some agency or reporting on shortwave radio to the world or how much radiation you have or something like that, I don't know why anybody would need, especially a Geiger counter, because a Geiger counter won't even work in a high-level event. Geiger counter is toys. Forget about it. Why calibrate? Maybe you have a reason for it. I don't know. As far as the other meters go, there's nothing legally you can own to make those needles move. So if you're getting any reading at all due to radiation, I would just get the hell back into your shelter, get out of the area, because I don't care how accurate it is, that needle's moving, that's real bad. So why calibrate it? But, okay, to answer your question, KI4U. There's a company, it's out in Texas, Gonzales, Texas, called KI4U. Just go on the internet, KI4U, and they calibrate it, but it's about $110 right now to calibrate one of those things that I just mentioned. Is it worth it? The unit you're talking about calibrating isn't even worth that, depending on what it is. Now, if you got an Eberlein or Ludlum or some other brand, a professional brand, that's not the old civil defense meter, the surplus, then okay, maybe you want to calibrate them. But again, I don't know why you would calibrate them. Why? What's the reason for it? Unless you're in medical field or something, why calibrate it? For home use, for personal use, no reason to calibrate them. If you want to spend $110, then go right ahead. If you mention Forbid Tea, you'll get a 10% discount on calibration services at KI4U, KI4U.com. Okay. I'm going to have my dinner. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And we'll see what happens with YouTube. Might have to go off YouTube. It keeps doing this ad blocking nonsense. They make enough money off me already. Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Yes. Okay.